know when we come back from break and Gore is just deep in laughter that something chaotic has happened.
Yeah, I'm doing something dumb. That's what
Gore?
it means.
You know what, Gore? I did an interview with someone else about you recently. They're doing a report on Gourmizer. And at the end of the interview, I was asked, use a couple words to describe Gore. And I said, you know what? Surprisingly chaotic was my answer.
that is accurate.
Then it's very accurate because everyone looks at Gourmizer and you're this nice, genuine, caring human being, which you are.
Okay. There was a really big but coming after that.
But what you are.
Okay.
I think by that I mean people assume you're like tame. You know what I mean? And you are most of the time.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, things happen between break that are like, where we like it's just too close to the video ending, and my brain just melts a little bit. And so, what was the word I used? Surprisingly chaotic is Gourmizer. Just take my word for it. Surprisingly chaotic was our previous set as well. Surprising, given that we assumed the Oni homies would just kind of roll over the Fun Havers, but anything but. Fun Havers showed up to play and took the Oni homies to 3, but the Oni homies made no mistake. In game number 3, we move on to our final match of the day, but our final upper bracket match to determine who will face the Oni homies for one of the 2 spots in the SPL tomorrow. So Oni homies awaiting the winner of Winter Dogs versus the Duck Club. And Gore, I think, as far as anticipated matchups go over the course of this week, maybe the most, right? Outside of course, the qualifying games. But when we're talking about determining which teams will qualify or not qualify to the SPL, every team has a shot going into this weekend. But odds and percentages, things like that, Duck Club and Winter Dogs feel like they're up there in their chances.
And this is one that's very interesting because, what we saw from Duck Club was very, good as players, but you could tell that this was a team that had formed recently versus what we saw out of Winter Dogs in their set, which was a team that ran the gold lead, absolutely had control. The thing about this is that you have 5 incredible players on Duck Club, and this is the team that, when it was revealed for all of the... when it was...
Was that the highlight? Just missed the drop kick on the lane minion. Sorry, Gore, you're making a great point.
Hold on. I got to do my man some justice. Ducky's a great solo laner.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
And his highlight was missing a drop kick on everyone. There's a full lane. He drop kicked the minion against the wall. Unlucky. You're right, though.
We'll see him again.
Ducky, a fantastic solo laner. And Gore, this is such an interesting team, as I totally rip your point from you.
Yeah.
This is an interesting team in that, it's a bunch of players with limited competitive history with one another.
Yes.
But all have competitive history in and of themselves, and so it's the meshing of that team where they'll find their success.
And that's what I think is going to be interesting. Look here, we get another Ducky clip first off.
Surely this one
thrown out there, and he gets the drop kick this time, baby. We love to see it. No, it's just again, it's a team that coming together has a lot of competitive experience behind themselves individually, like you had said, and so this is the team that when rosters were revealed, everyone was like, oh, we don't have a clear-cut 2 anymore. We really have to reconsider who exactly is going to be able to make it here. And I think this is going to be a good chance for them to show exactly why and who they are as a team, kind of showcase some more practice. They've had a little bit of experience playing the last couple of days. They got to play yesterday. And so now I'm excited to see what they can do up against a team like the Winter Dogs.
And I think, expectations start to rise when you get this far on in the upper bracket, especially for players like Lukonium, player out of the jungle here for this Duck Club team. Lukonium, thanks for standing by for the pregame interview. Talk to me a little bit about what Gore and I had just talked about, a team with not as extensive competitive history with one another in the past. How do you feel like the squad is meshing chemistry-wise?
We definitely have a lot of veteranship on the team, that's for sure. And I definitely think it was kind of a surprising team that got together, and people were like, where'd these guys come from?
Right.
How do we know each other? But I think we've only been scrimming for, I don't know, probably a month, but we've seen a lot of leaps and bounds. So I'm pretty excited for today.
And you look back at your earlier matchups here this weekend. You guys have been successful. You're still in the upper bracket. What do you think has worked well for this team? Where do you think your strengths are as a squad?
Well, obviously Wednesday wasn't exactly how we wanted to play.
Sure.
We definitely have a lot of mess ups, but we've been strategizing and getting together for picks and bans. I think our preparation for today is a lot better now that we know these players. So I'm just excited to see what we can do today.
In preparation for this team being the Winter Dogs is always an interesting conversation piece because, Ben EQ, the buzzword, he always leads his picks towards last. How does a team prep going up against someone like Ben EQ who will throw a wrench in the mix at the drop of a hat?
You kind of just forget about him. try and target somebody else.
Fair enough.
I mean, if you try to ban him out, he's always going to have something.
Right.
So kind of just look at other sides of the map and try and target, their comfort picks and put us in the best situation for success.
Trust that your game plan will overcome anything else. Lukonium, thanks for talking with me and best of luck.
Thank you.
And so the chemistry's starting to flow for this Duck Club team, and I think that's such a unique perspective from Lukonium there, where it's only been a couple of months, but they have found success in their scrims. Things like that have been rolling for this Duck Club team. And again, super team is such a buzzword, but when you talk about putting together a team with so much success and so much veteranship, as Lukonium had worded it, it's often the chemistry that's lacking. And so to hear that even just after a couple of months of scrims, this Duck Club team is meshing relatively well and able to recognize their issues despite winning so far this week, I think is a great start and what could be a very successful run towards the SPL as this week continues on. Their opponents, though, a little bit different of a story. This Winter Dogs team has been playing together for a while. They were together maybe, a year and a half or something like that. At this point, this is a team very familiar with one another's play style and has found success on a consistent basis as a team, moved through some of those Smite World Championship qualifiers, of course, Aquarius, Kirmi, Ben EQ, Gamma, and Wowie. And every time we talk about this roster, of course, Ben EQ's picks, things like that come up. But it's a team that is able to play around those styles of picks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't prep against it if you're an opposing team, but you're able to prep for basically anything when you're playing as concise and full of chemistry as the Winter Dogs are.
I would call it enabling, right? To the point where
that is a much better word.
Yeah. So, and the reason I describe it that way is because this is a team that is going to play comps that aren't going to qualify directly under what most people would consider as like great, and yet they're going to make it work, and they're going to make it look really good in the process. And that's the thing I think that you had mentioned it, but like kind of chaotic in picks and bans when you're trying to determine what you're going to be going up against, who's going to be playing what. They're all individually really talented at their roles, and we've got to see that for an entire year. We got to see them make a pretty decent run during the World Championship placements. And so this is a team that has just been on the cusp of breaking into the SPL. And so this is a team that you have to expect a lot out of. And you had mentioned Benny Q, but playing the Rob, that's like the most normal pick I think we got to see yesterday. And yet he still hit like a two-man snipe at one point, had some insane damage numbers. You look at Kirmi and what he's been able to provide. And that's, kind of trying to ignore the fact that, like, Gamma has been around a while. Wowie has played in the SPL. Aquarius has played in the SPL. Like, you've got players on this team that are just insanely talented. And they bring a different energy to the mix that makes it a little more difficult to try and tackle. And because they have all of that history together now at this point, that's where I think some of the breaking points are going to be for Duck Club, is trying to figure out if they can actually take them in a more coalesced team fight, knowing that the Winter Dogs just kind of understand each other better.
Gore, I appreciated at the beginning, I'm like, how do I describe the way that this Winter Dogs team plays around Benny Q? And you're like, just enable them. I'm like, that would have been much easier for me to say the first time. And so I appreciate you having you here on the desk with me. Benny Q standing by right now, mid laner for this Winter Dogs team for the pre-game interview. Benny Q, we have talked about you plenty as this week has gone on about we've used so many different words, I feel like, to describe your god pool and your play style. How would you describe your god pool and the way you play Smite? We use the word eclectic, interesting, unique. How do you feel like your god pool stands out?
I don't really know. I'm just different, I think.
Different is fair enough. It all matches the same.
But I think people don't give me enough credit for playing like standard stuff as well, because
your Merlin is nuts.
Yeah.
He does have a nuts.
I did play exclusively mages
right
pretty much the whole year, but I think being able to like switch it up is kind of nice too, depending on what my team wants.
Right. You've proven now at this point that you can play a little bit of everything. Talk to me about prep going up against a team like Duck Club. They've only really been a roster together for, a month or so now. With limited film on a team like that, how do you prep going into it?
We kind of just have things we want to play.
Sure.
And I think if we just play our best, it'll go pretty smoothly.
Yeah, high expectations for you and the rest of the team. Thanks for taking the time, and best of luck in your game.
Thank you.
And so the limited prep, I think that's a good way to word it, where you fall back on just being confident in yourself and the way that you're going to play the game. There's only so much you can control. And I think if you zoom out, whether you're talking esports, sports, anything like that in general, it's important to be cognizant of what your opponents are going to play on any given day. But if you're already going in and your game plan is exclusively to prevent somebody else from doing anything, and you don't have a way to facilitate the way you want to play the game, you know what I mean? You gotta be aggressive in some aspects, and I think the Winter Dogs have a good mindset going up against the Duck Club.
And it is, I mean, it is exactly to his point, right? Where it's very easy to remember that Benny Q, I think Blink Artemis over in the duo lane, and I think, of course, Eclectic Picks, as you had worded it, in the mid lane. But realistically, last year we saw some really good Merlin plays. We saw a really great Raw the other day. His mages are at that same level.
They're good.
It's just so interesting because it gives this team a different dynamic. I mean, how many teams out there are letting their mid laner play? We see Hunters occasionally, right? We saw one earlier for the Oni homies. How many times does it go to the Assassins? Go back to Season 7, there was that set mid stint that happened, but for the most part, it doesn't happen, and it definitely doesn't happen consistently. So having this team that can change up a draft and change up a style, and having a coach behind them that can kind of recognize in draft, you know what, we don't want you playing a mage this game. We want you to play something else. It's probably going to be weird. Maybe it gets memed. Who cares? Right. It's going to work better for our team fight. That's something that they bring to the table that not a lot of people do. And admittedly, it'll be interesting to see if they can make it in the SPL, how that handles against some of the other top teams. But even here, this is going to be a good test for whether or not their experience together and the minds behind the drafts are going to be able to raise everything up and the level up to take out Duck Club and at least get one step closer to promoing into the SPL.
Yeah, that's a great point, Gore. I feel like in the past we've seen teams who try to play these more unique compositions, and there are often times where the Winter Dogs will have 4 relatively standard picks, and then they kind of throw a wrench into the mix at the end. We've seen teams who have tried to play that style, and it just hasn't worked out consistently in the same way it has for the Winter Dogs. And I think Benny brings up a good point, and you iterate on it there, where, the standard mages are very much in the conversation. You'll see standard mages banned out against Benny Q often. I think I saw Persephone taken away from him.
That's exactly who I was going to talk about.
And so, I think there is still this respect towards Benny on the standard picks. But I think on the flip side, when you talk to Lukonium about it, it's a great point that you can't always prepare for someone whose god pool is as wild as Benny Q's is. And so you just got to focus on the other 4 picks.
It's God Ocean, right? I mean, he literally, I can't think of a single mage on that initial tab. You sort by mages. I think I've seen Benny Q play every single one of those, and I'm pretty sure I've seen him win with every single one of those. Go to the Hunter tab, because guess what? He used to play Hunter. He's got a lot of those in his back pocket. You go to the Assassin tab, unfortunately for you, he's got a lot of those as well. And I wouldn't be surprised. You could tell me he was going to play Ymir mid today, and I would not actually react to it.
Gore, I think we're almost doing a disservice. Across the lane from Benny Q is Maswal, a guy who has won a Smite World Championship, right? And so we're giving Benny Q all this credence because of his god pool and, of course, his ability to play. But he's facing a very, very difficult task today. Maswal, the type of player who plays at the highest level of Smite game and has the ability to punish some of those more interesting picks. So I think the mid lane becomes very, very important here in this matchup, not only in picks and bans, but punishing a very good player on either side. A lot of questions about what the priority will be, and those questions will be answered here in just a moment of time. Gamma and Wowie against Hurrywind and Snoopy, the dual lane matchup. I also think very, very fun to look forward to.
And this is actually a conversation. Again, I got to talk with Aggro and PBM about this on Backliners, and it was one that was going on in chat. I won't be surprised if it goes on in chat today after this, which is that Wowie has a lot of competitive history and a lot of it being in the SPL, but not a lot of success in it. It's very similar to Ducky's conversation, right, where he's been in the SPL a lot, but when you look at the teams he's been on, he's not necessarily found a lot of success. Wowie is in a very similar boat to that, although I think his win rate it was somewhere around the 37%, not crazy high when it comes down to his career. And that conversation of how does he match up against Snoopy, who had one of the best careers and was regarded as one of the best players in the SPL for years, and how this matchup's going to be. You mentioned Gamma and Hurrywind, but Hurry being new to support, even though it fits him pretty well, and honestly is a role that plays to his personality and his style style of play really well. Gamma's just been doing it longer. So how is that going to affect this lane? I think the duo lane, especially with how important Obelisk is and how important the pressure we've seen over there has been the last few days, is going to be a very, very important linchpin for the set.
Yep. Gore, I'm like trying to zoom out here. Whichever team loses, I'm considering the bracket.
I think we could see this as a rematch.
Rematched.
Yeah,
in
this is
potentially
absolutely
the last
possible to happen twice this.
Right. Whoever wins this game moves on to face the Oni homies. If they end up losing that one, could end up facing the same opponent later on. But I look at the lower bracket. It's going to be an absolute brawl with the teams that are remaining down there. The Fun Havers have been playing some really good Smite. Whoever loses this one, the neighborhood is out for blood. It feels like, I think that this lower bracket run for all of these teams as the rest of this weekend goes on going to be very interesting to watch.
I also think that there's an interesting conversation to have about the stress. Like, getting knocked down here is not ideal, right? You obviously want to take as little steps as possible to get to the promo match. But if you get knocked down here, I believe that means on Sunday, and you win your set tomorrow, right? So you don't get eliminated tomorrow morning.
Right.
Then that means on Sunday you would play 2 back-to-back, one trying to get to the promo match, and then potentially the promo match itself. And if you're starting to think about that, it's a lot of Smite back-to-back because it's a best of 3 into a best of 5. But it also might benefit you to have that hot hand. So it's one of those things of, it sucks, but is it the end of the world? And then a whole different conversation spawns up for the rest of the weekend on that. Ideally, though, you're 5 game wins from getting to the SPL right now, and you'd rather have that happen for you with as minimum losses as possible.
Right. An event structured like this, just all these storylines coming out, and it's going to be such a blast to watch the remainder of these matches. It all starts here, though. Duck Club versus the Winter Dogs, a date with the Oni homies for a spot in the SPL tomorrow. And the first 3 picks that the Duck Club will bring to the table, Gilgamesh, Artio, and Soul. And Gourmizer,
Can you tell these guys played in the SPL?
I was going to say, we have seen these 3 picks paired together plenty of times.
This is, very, very standard drafting. And, of course, you have to look at it. Casey is the coach here for Duck Club, someone who has been in the scene for a long time, one of the better coaches and really good minds of Smite. So it's not surprising to see a draft like this coming down from them. Especially, again, you had mentioned it, but talking about homework being done against Winter Dogs, like Kabrakan being a ban up there is something that you're not going to see against a lot of teams. Maybe you're going to have it thrown out against the Oni homies, but I think Winter Dogs deserve it. And they just get 3 really strong power picks. And then, Winter Dogs are doing their thing.
Winter Dogs are doing their thing, right. Charybdis, Serket, Zhongqi. It's a very Winter Dogs draft. Is there concern that you're drafting Zhongqi this early? Do you think there's still enough available, Gore, that depending on what Winter Dogs ban, depending on what Duck Club ban, there's enough that could punish a Zhongqi pick? I mean, you got a lot of your frontline and your initiation already picked. If you're the Duck Club, is this Zhongqi a little bit too early in the draft in your mind?
Well, I want to say both yes and no.
Sure.
I also want to add that if this does go to BennyQ, unfortunately, that means it's the fall of the pattern of him always getting last pick for their team.
And
but
specifically my
that
call out, right?
has been a very that's been their shtick for like the last year so far.
Right.
But the other thing is so weird because is Zhongqi going to get picked right now by anybody else? Like if you let him through, if you pick something else there for your team, is it going to get banned away? No. So I think this is something that is showcasing they wanted a very specific pick to deal with something that Duck Club are going to be doing. But more importantly, that whatever their bottom 2 are, they wanted to see a lot more of the draft available to them. And that's whether, is this Serket going to be jungle? Is it going to be support? Is this Zhongqi going to be solo? Is it going to be mid? Things like that are really going to shake up what the Winter Dogs do. And that's where their versatility comes into the equation.
Yep.
Because all of a sudden, you get to see a lot more of that draft over there for whatever last pick you have, and you can pivot your strategy based on that.
Duck Club not feeling like this Serket will be in the jungle as the Daji takes a ban, as well as the Cerberus. Medusa and Yamoja banned out on the other side, so that gives you the idea that maybe the Winter Dogs are thinking this Soul could be a mid lane Soul, although I guess there's a world where Medusa could have gone mid as well. And so Duck Club in a spot now where you're able to not show way too much, or rather the Winter Dogs in a spot where they don't have to show way too much as far as that final pick goes. Bacchus keeps things interesting here, and I think that duo lane becomes fun to watch now, Gore. A Charybdis plus a Bacchus duo lane. Charybdis, of course, great at being defensive.
Yeah.
but also great at following up on some big damage setup.
And I think that's the setup, right? Bacchus, that knockup really does line people up. I think one of the hardest things about Charybdis' kit, which, there's not a ton. A lot of it plays on paper exactly the way you would expect, but the delay time from when you click to when your ult can actually connect is something that, it's relatively easy to juke out. If you're in the right position, you're going to end up getting stunned out, but for the most part, we've seen it dodged more often than we've seen it connect. But a big Bacchus knockup into an ult like that, all of a sudden you're guaranteeing a little bit more of your damage, things like that. I think early on, Bacchus knockup just in general is going to be helpful. You've got stuns, you've got good damage from Charybdis. Like you said, that's a very powerhouse duo lane. And I think it's necessary. It goes back to that conversation we were having earlier about what Hurry and Snoopy are going to be able to do versus Gamma and Wowie.
And you bring up Hurrywind, Gore. Could this be a Hercules for Hurrywind? Hurrywind has played Atlas this weekend. Why are you laughing there, Gore?
Tyler said Hercules.
Oh, I know. I wanted to make you say it.
I said it. It's Hercules.
All right, so
I like that.
It is Soul ADC, Hercules, and Agni are the final two picks here. So we're going to give Maswal the Agni, and I believe that means Hercules will be in the duo lane over there with Soul for Hurrywind.
That's
So
where I'd like
you're
it.
fighting aggression with aggression. Bacchus on one side, Hercules on the other.
And if you think about it, it's actually going to end up hurting Bacchus a little bit. You jump in with Bacchus and then Hercules pushes you back, you're going to take a lot of damage there. So you have to be very careful when you engage. Charybdis should be fine. First couple of levels, though, is very scary, right? Hercules is very adept at level 2 kills. And so you are either going to have to level up your Whirlpool super fast, or you are going to have to really, really play cautiously.
Gore, I know you're a Bologna fan.
I love Bologna. She's my favorite solo laner to play.
That doesn't necessarily mean she's the best in the game.
No, she's just one of my favorites.
Right. How do you feel about her right now in this meta, though?
I'm looking at Gilgamesh and Soul, and I think that having a silence on her is going to be really solid. I think that really with what we've seen, the build specifically out of like Amaterasu the last couple of days feels like it fits Bologna like a glove. I mean, and that translates really well from what we've been seeing. And that's the question. She's an auto attacker. She fits really well into like the Berserker's start that we've seen from a lot of people. If you are going to go for things like Frostbound Hammer, and that's just on my mind because we saw it earlier, she fits it like a glove there too. So it really is a fun pick just because of the meta. Up against this squad, I think it'll do pretty well against the carries. It's got good dive potential. If Hercules brings her into the fray, she honestly loves it a little bit more. I actually think she ends up working out pretty well here.
Gore, I think there's a lot to follow along with and be excited about for this Duck Club versus Winter Dogs game.
There's so much.
You're looking at Hercules for Hurrywind, who had been playing mid forever and now in support. He's got a soul in that lane. Bacchus on one side, Jonqui is there as well, and so it looks like it will be Benny Q on Jonqui. Is the draft around Jonqui, in your mind, enough to kind of rally around? Gore doesn't get to answer because the game is going to get to answer. Duck Club versus Winter Dogs, game 1.
What a big set that we get to end the day on and potentially see who will move on to face the Oni homies tomorrow for their shot into the Smite Pro League. At least one of those potential slots. It's J-Mac Tucker and Mifflin here, and Doug for game number 2, and it is going to be the Hercules going over to Hurrywind, something that was kind of a topic of question as far as this was concerned. I mean, we saw the Atlas out of him yesterday, and coming out of mid lane, Hercules isn't necessarily the easiest of supports to kind of just throw out there.
One of the more OG gods. Hurry's got plenty of years of experience behind him. I trust him to be able to perform on the mechanics of this pick. And if you think about it, what do mid laners do? They line up difficult, air quote, difficult skill shots. That's what Hercules does. As long as he's able to connect that second ability, find a driving strike afterward, I've got no complaints. You're also not really too worried about Hercules' positioning, so if that's something that Hurrywind is struggling with, I'm not saying that it is, but if it is, with this new transition to support, I mean, all that healing is going to help you out a lot.
I've really been enjoying this week, more so to see all the different gods that have been coming through here. And I'm sure that somebody, specifically probably Gore or somebody else, will be able to fact check at the end of the week to see just how many unique gods that we've had come out here, even in just these first 3 days. Do you know how many unique gods we've had?
59.
59 unique gods. All right, we'll see what the up or down, the plus or minus is on that by the end of the day. Production says it checks out, so I'll trust you on there, Mifflin.
You shouldn't.
And we'll add one more here. So now we're at 60 with Bologna, and we're up a frenzy on Gamma. but it's not going to do a whole lot because a quick preemptive beads out of Snoopy will make sure that belly flop does not throw him in the air.
Hey, that's a great trade for the Winter Dogs. Anytime you're able to take that defensive relic off of one of these carries, that's a trade I'm willing to take. I don't care if it costs you your frenzy early on. It's all about the ability to apply that CC.
Another big fight. Hurrywin does get the push on Gamma,
Yeesh.
but Gamma's got the belly flop back up just in time. Snoopy really playing aggressive up on this soul, using the separate to close that gap and throw out that stellar burst. But while all this happened in duo lane, we also had a skirmish in mid lane go through. Beads are down on Moswall too, and the blink from Kieran, you gotta imagine, as a blink Cobra's Kiss that forced those out.
Yeah, so now essentially the Winter Dogs have free reign of the map. The two hyper carries, the two targets that you most want to go on at this portion of the game are exposed to CC, and they're great targets for it. Winter Dogs can have Kirimi rotate over towards the duo lane or try and reprise that first gank towards mid. Gamma can start moving over towards that mid 3v3. There's a lot of kill pressure on the map right now.
Hurrywin really is just playing this Hercules-like solo. You get that knock up on the wave, you push it together and let Snoopy get some big clear, but Wowie is getting some big damage up on Hurrywin with the help of Gamma. And that's going to force Hurry to play a little bit more defensively on this Herc. Only one more potion available to Hurrywin. Snoopy just popped his last one. And kind of going back over towards this solo lane, we kind of talked about, you know, we've been seeing RDO for basically ever, it feels, at this point. But Bologna is one that we don't get to see very often. Gore seems to really like it and kind of enjoy the pick, especially with how it kind of fits with this new solo build.
Yeah, you go for the Shogun's Kusari, you can immediately go into the Berserker's Shield afterwards. She's got pretty decent damage output. With Death Toll Soul Laners coming back to the meta, Bludgeon giving you those AoE autos means that Aquarius is going to be able to sustain very well in this lane, and with Scourge having sustain built into it, means that it's going to be pretty difficult for Ducky to poke him out. But the same is true of the inverse. RDO has also similarly got a whole lot of healing built into that Druid stance. So I think this is going to be a bit of a wet noodle lane, if I'm being honest. There's really not a whole lot of kill potential between the two of these picks.
Yeah, we get to see kind of the one downsides of the RDO matchup there, but we'll hold that for later. Maybe we can talk about it now. Moswall, a perfect stun up against Benny Q, but there's still too much damage from the poison and too much damage from the card. Benny Q and the Winter Dogs come up with first blood.
Man, I thought it was a misplay to instantly go for the Exercise Demons from Benny Q, or the ultimate rather, and no, not the case. He needed that very first ghost, and then the last one is all it takes to finish off that kill.
Now beads out of Benny in the mid lane, and I thought maybe Hurry was going to try and make something happen in duo, but Wowie will quickly back up. Gamma will rotate out of that lane instantly. And once again, another set of relics now down. Kirimi's blink one more time. Benny Q's beads are going to be down for just a little while longer. Lukonium, though, trading out his blink to get those beads always seems like a fairly worthwhile trade for your jungle.
Anytime those beads are down, man, it just makes it so much easier to get involved on the map. That's one of the hardest things to do at this portion of the game, is just force off that defensive relic. Now, Benny Q, who's off to a roaring start, 1 level lead over Moswall in the mid lane, is exposed to some danger. That said, Jonqui's passive, giving him so much protections inherently, and all the sustain that he gets in lane, going to make it pretty hard to find those opportunities, but certainly easier now that he isn't CC immune.
Well, Gamma just clips the wall there from the Earthbreaker by Hurrywin. And we do see a little bit of Lotus control here on the side of Duck Club at the very least. They stole away the Lotus on the top side from the Serpent Camp. They get their own. And if we take a look at the totems, or the obelisks, I should say, they're both fairly even in their stacks right now. So it's a couple of pop there. Even with all the camps going down between the mid camps and the side camps, it's only solo lane that hasn't gotten a chance to drop theirs. It looks like Aquarius will probably have the advantage to grabbing that.
Yeah, it should be the case. Aquarius should have the advantage of just wave clear at this point as well. Just able to group it up relatively easily and start moving his way into the jungle. I'm expecting these junglers to start getting involved pretty soon, around the side lane specifically. We've seen now, 5 minutes into the game, that neither support necessarily willing to rotate out. I believe it's because both supports have got pretty decent kill potential against the Hunters, maybe more so Gamma, considering Wowie's playing Charybdis, and that god is just impossible to lock down. Into the Maw, as well as the CC immunity ultimate, means that Wowie largely going to be allowed to play safely here. So I'm surprised that Hurrywin maybe is willing to stick around, but Gamma, on the other hand, you got a soul. Yeah, that's something you want to sit on.
Something I don't bring up too often. I talk about it a lot, but it's usually in the sense of I missed what item it was. Lukonium does get a katana as his tier 1 item just for hitting that level 5, picking up his quest.
Not bad.
And now the question is this an item that he does hold on to and actually finish up compared to some of the other tier 1s you get?
I don't think it's one that you necessarily have to finish. I'm a huge fan of that Panatom, just kind of facilitator style of build. but it's not one that you're going to sell either. That is a very well-statted Tier 1 item, the katana giving you so much of what you need as Gilgamesh. I think you can just hold on to it for a little bit, or we might see Lukonium go for that more assassin-style build, and if that's the case, I wouldn't be mad about a serrated edge or something like that.
Well, just as soon as he got in that fight, he had to get right back out. Blink expended and then the heroic leap right after, just because the belch from Gamma was enough to zone. And now we get to see what we've been seeing all weekend long, Mifflin, which is the supports throwing away their lives to get these Lotuses. But Snoopy is throwing away a lot of his health in this boxing match up against Wowie. But just kind of like Charybdis, how she's such a safe hunter between that whirlpool and everything like that. Snoopy also on a fairly safe magical hunter, be the way that disapparate.
Yeah, I like to call Charybdis's escapability just like better disapparate. It's like instant disapparate, and then you also deal damage while you're going through, and you get a knock up on the tail end of it. Snoopy, on the other hand, gets a little bit of additional movement speed on the first part, but it's going to be a little while until he gets that damage immunity available to him. And he can still find himself in CC situations as well, whereas Charybdis, not exactly the case. Which is why I think we do see Gamma kind of hovering around this lane so much. He's just trying to make a scenario happen where Snoopy is at least forced back to base, forced to consider whether or not he's allowed to step up and farm. And maybe that is why we see Hurrywin hovering so much. He's just got to concern himself. If Gamma stays here and if he's keeping pressure on Snoopy, somebody's got to alleviate it.
Well, enough of those flowers did get stolen away, so the first totem will go, or the first obelisk will go the way of Hurrywin, and he's going to try and make use of it right away by diving up towards Gamma. But he's not going to be able to get that Earthbreaker. Instead, he'll just get a little bit of poke up against Gamma, eat a little bit of that belch damage, and he'll back himself up. We've been talking a lot about the mid laners, their new builds coming out here. The double flat pen really seems to be favoring gods like Thoth, Agni, Discordia. How does it kind of feel for a Zhong Kui getting that same style of build?
I mean, you get your damage online a lot more quickly. Zhong Kui a little bit less so about the poke, so I would have expected him to go for maybe that new Void Stone build that we've been seeing, but instead, Benny Q, he's got one thing on the mind, and it's damage.
There's one thing that Benny Q loves to do. It's fight, 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 and get lots of damage out here. Big boulder coming out from Hurrywin, but it's not enough to finish the job. Benny Q is low, but so is Lukonium, and in an instant, Kirmi gets a pop with the ultimate and the double kill. Goes the way of the junglers and the Winter Dogs, off to an explosive 3-0 start.
Man, the Winter Dogs are just playing so well around these fights. It feels like every time the Duck Club tries to get something started, it just doesn't work. They're outnumbered, legitimately. Kirmi, phenomenal rotation in there, gets involved early on, buys just a little bit of time for Benny Q to apply his damage, and it is a lot of damage with this Divine Ruin and already the second tier spear. So, with that being the case, now the Winter Dogs find themselves significantly in the lead. They could start making aggressive plays in the enemy jungle if they so choose.
The good news is we get a nice little third-person perspective
on
this ultimate, and he does tag the minion camp instead of an actual god. And look at how quickly that spread to 3 different people at once. We've seen plays like that before. You tag a minion, you kind of death throw him right into the enemy team. But to get one on the camp that was at that low of health in that exact moment, massive heads-up play by Kirmi.
Man, that is crazy. Just realizing that first tick was going to apply the explosion immediately, realizing how close everybody was in that scenario, that is wild heads-up play. You're not going to see that very often.
We're going to see an ult on a Hurrywin and 4 people surrounding this Hercules stunned out for massive damage out of Benny Q and Kirmi, and that's going to make sure that Hurrywin pays the price for walking up towards the enemy jungle. I mean, the obelisk is down. He was just placing a ward, but that ward ends up costing him his life.
Man, the Winter Dogs are just executing so well on the map right now. They are a roaming death ball, and it is quick. That death is concise as far as the Winter Dogs are concerned. You'd think that Hurry would be able to survive these situations a little bit longer. He's gone for a slightly slower build. Got one of Thieves in that first slot. He's only got half as many stacks as Gamma on the other side. Once he finishes up either the Wing Blade or maybe anything else along that side, maybe Witchblade, legitimately, to deal with some of the attack speed of the Winter Dogs. But he needs something. I'm talking like those core Herc items. Get yourself like a Caduceus shield so you don't have to worry about all this damage. But even then, Kirmi dealing all that anti-heal, Hurrywin playing it behind already, is a tough situation for Hercules to find himself in.
I mean, not just Kirmi with his ultimate. Benny Q went for that rush first item, Divine Ruin. Gamma's got some anti-heal on that belt. I mean, so many options to try and shut Hurrywin down here. Remember, Hurrywin went for this after he had seen pretty much the entirety of the draft. The only thing that wasn't shown at that point was the Bologna. So he picked this Hercules into this comp, and so far it hasn't been working out too well for him. Down 0-2, just 11 minutes in. You see a very slight, about 2,000 gold lead that the Winter Dogs have been able to amass here.
Yeah, 2,000's not a small amount at this portion of the game. 11 minutes in, no neutral objectives haven't fallen. That means that it's all macro play and 4 kills separating these two teams. But the Duck Club still are staying relatively close insofar as experience. The largest gap we're seeing is in the jungle. Kirmi, 2 levels up over Lukonium. But the Duck Club have got some opportunities to fight back in. I'm talking specifically around this Gold Fury. Look at the ward coverage Duck Club has already established. Red buff, deep warded. You've got wards all around the objective itself. You've got decent shred potential with Snoopy on this soul. Maybe we see Duck Club try and go for a cheeky Gold Fury to try and close up some of this gap.
Well, Aquarius is having fun slamming some abilities up against Ducky right now over in that solo lane. Lukonium sticking by. Makes me want to believe that he's going to try and get something going here, but he is not willing to fight into Aquarius, and especially not with Gamma and Benny Q rotating over from that mid lane. And that'll be an end to the fighting as far as Ducky and Lukonium are concerned. But Duck Club able to maintain, at least, even still down this 2,000. They do have some very slight leads elsewhere. Snoopy has been able to hold about a half level up over Wowie, even despite the fact that Wowie's been getting the better end of some of these trades.
Yeah, he has been. Maybe that's why Hurrywin is still hovering around. Hurrywin refuses to leave this lane, legitimately. I would think that Hercules would be pretty strong into Benny Q. Maybe he's worried about delivering an ahead Zhonghui. It's not even ahead, actually. Moswell's been farming really efficiently. Level 14 to Benny Q's 13. Zhonghui being the most immobile member of the Winter Dogs, the only one who doesn't have a traditional escape. That displacement of Hercules could go a long way there, whereas he's really just kind of generally sitting in the duo lane and making sure that Snoopy feels safe. I feel like maybe his efforts would be better applied somewhere else on the map.
A nice little shout out to the solo laners where they know that neither of them are going to kill each other, so they just have some fun, throw a little bit of dances between each other, just have some good old jolly fun over in the solo lane. But kind of looking at their builds here, we are seeing Aquarius going towards this more auto-attack centric build, getting that extra magical defense online now as he already has that Shogun's Kasari. Does have the Berserker's Shield, which is kind of the 2 more common items that we've seen so far when it comes to these auto-attack warriors.
So many enemies, so many Winter Dogs here on the left side of the map. Hurrywin has to play very cautiously stepping forward. This is the first bit of proactive, aggressive play that we've seen, and it's Benny Q starting up the red.
Oswald will eat the stun. The Winds of Shamash have been unleashed, and so have the ghosts from Benny Q. Hurrywin is now stuck in the middle of 3. Will driving strike away, but Kirmi will grab him right back. Big ultimate with the maw from Wowie, but it's not going to find any real value there. Kirmi is low, and ultimate out of the balloon. It's just too late to save Benny's life. Kirmi down, erased. Lukonium gets the credit for that kill. Hurrywin runs out, but Benny Q is going to hunt him down. The stun is enough damage to take him out, and now it's Snoopy who's got to run. But Moswell finds a nice 2-man stun to end that fight.
That is a massive rotation from Ducky. If he is not there exactly when he gets there, that fight is going handily to the Winter Dogs. Seems like Kirmi wasn't aware of Ducky's presence, goes a little bit too deep on his own, and it's very easy to chase out from there. Hurrywin acting as the sacrificial lamb for his team. Who cares? 0-2 Hercules going to 0-3. Not a massive deal. Still equivalent levels with Gamma. That's a phenomenal trade for the Duck Club to put their first one on the board off the back of the Winter Dogs choosing that fight.
And with that, the Duck Club are able to take away a lot of the jungle from the Winter Dogs. You see them go up and take away at least one of the Harpy camps. It looked like the blue buff got stolen away too, and then even one of the Alpha Harpies on the lower end there. So Duck Club able to surge back a little bit, kind of shore up that gold lead, if only slightly, about 500 gold up. They were able to jump back in to keep themselves there. But the XP is kind of the main thing here. Still only 2,000, but that 2,000 XP really isn't a whole lot here 15 minutes in the game.
No, it isn't. And a lot of the XP gap was on Kirmi just a moment ago. It was 2, nearly 3 levels over Lukonium. Now both junglers sitting at 14. Largest disparity is in the duo lane. 1 level for Gamma, maybe about a half level here and there. Elsewhere on the map, the Winter Dogs lose out massively off of that last engagement. And experience starts to mean less and less as the game goes on. It takes a lot more to start leveling up, so 2,000 here, much less than 2,000 even 5 minutes ago. The Duck Club have done a great job of kind of slowing down this bleeding. The Winter Dogs have not been able to extend their lead for about 6 minutes.
Well, you were asking for maybe a Void Stone out of Benny Q, and he'll answer that call this time. It is 3rd item after doing his initial 2 flat pens and working towards 1 more penetration item. We saw this out of El Leon earlier today where he was going the quadra pen magic focus tree, get every single item that's available to you in that tree, and then he'd end his build with a Soul Reaver. Benny Q this time around will be that Void Stone instead.
Man, I love this style of build for Zhonghui. Just that a little bit of additional survivability. You're still not sacrificing too much in damage. The whole plan for BennyQ is just to be attack nuke, right? He's going to blink in, drop his ultimate, deal as much damage as he can, as quickly as he can. And if BennyQ has to die for that, I mean, that's a pretty valuable trade because the rest of the team composition built around him on the Winter Dogs should be able to chase out these kills. It doesn't matter how far away they get. Surcat is incredibly mobile. Aquarius with that ultimate should be able to close gap onto some of these targets on the Duck Club as well. So this style of build, I think, one that is going to serve BennyQ incredibly well.
Well, the first times in a while in this kind of early game that we don't see the supports kind of inting themselves to try and steal some of these Lotus Flowers away for that Obelisk. So Winter Dogs do get the advantage this time as far as that objective is concerned. That'll give them and net them a little bit of additional gold and XP for themselves and try and keep this lead up. But they're going to start up the Gold Fury. Now, there are a few people from Duck Club here. There's also a few on the complete opposite side of the map. Zoning out Hurrywin is going to be important. That boulder has a lot of steal potential. They're taking their time, their sweet time, but Kiermi with the perfect timing on the ultimate to lock down Hurrywin and prevent that boulder from coming through. Now Hurrywin may just be in danger, may just be dead here. A leap in from Kiermi and the rest of the Winter Dogs surrounding in to take out the support.
Man, that was a wild chase, man. Hurrywin, I cannot think expected to have just like 5 dudes barreling down his way. The Winter Dogs feels like they didn't really necessarily need to do that. Again, Hurrywin now 0-4. His bounty is not very high. That was a pretty large time commitment to shut him down, but in doing so, have bought themselves enough space to take out this Tier 1 tower on the left-hand side. Good wherewithal from the Duck Club, realizing that they really couldn't close gap to that Gold Fury. Hurrywin goes for the Hail Mary play, realizing that his life isn't all that valuable at this point, just throws out the Excavate, seeing if maybe he could find the steal, while the rest of the squad, they do the next best thing, pick up Pyromancer on the right-hand side.
Yeah, it is our trade out here. Gold Fury for Pyro initially, but then 2 Tier 1 towers for Hurrywin's life here out of the Winter Dogs. 6 kills up to 1. The gold hasn't shifted a whole lot, only about another 1,000 up from what we were earlier, being close to that 3K gold and XP. So Winter Dogs do still have a very slight lead here in the early game, but most of those levels are coming from the dual lane. Level 14 on Gamma, level 17 on Wowie, 1 and 2 levels up for those 2 duo laners.
Yeah, and you can see it reflected in the builds as well. Gamma already starting to finishing up some of those relics, going to get a lot more value, a little bit more CDR on them as well, whereas Hurrywin, he's just struggling to find his items at this point. Pridwin finished up for Hurry, going to help him out a little bit. That CDR means that he's going to be able to spam those abilities a little bit more consistently. That Pridwin also going to help him out with a good deal of burst going forward, so maybe he can generate some threat on these squishier targets on the side of Winter Dogs, but not many squishy targets on the side of Winter Dogs. I mean, take a peek at Kiermi's build. Bulwark of Hope already has the Glad Shield. Wowie, really the only one that I think Hurrywin could put threat on, and that's a Charybdis. That guy's pretty safe all the time. It's going to be a pretty tough task for this Hercules to get involved.
Not very often that Wowie or a Charybdis in general is going to let you just throw free damage at them consistently. Dropping that Whirlpool and you are good to go. Gamma has actually spent a lot of gold upgrading both of his relics before he's even got his 3rd full item online. Did get Heavenly Wings for that 2nd relic out there, upgraded all the way into those Entangling Wings and then fully upgrading his Frenzy as well. There's a lot of extra threat around these objectives, but also just a lot of threat in these team fights in general with that Entangling Wings.
Doug, help me out here, man. These Frenzies all look the same to me. Is that the Belt of Insatiable Hunger? God, I love saying it.
That's
is
such
so
a good
nerd.
one, but it's not,
Oh,
actually.
Belt of the Berserker. So this relic is going to give you a massive boost to your damage output, but it is going to very quickly decay away every 0.5 seconds over the course of, I believe, 6 seconds. So once you pop this relic, it's go time immediately. You need to make plays, which is why he goes for the Heavenly.
Hurrywin gets a pickup there on Gamma, and a lot of damage from the mid laner and from Snoopy thrown at him. But Gamma is out for now. BennyQ is now the one under fire by Ducky. A lot of damage thrown towards these 2 magical gods, and BennyQ is eating all of that damage from Ducky and Hurrywin. They go down, but Aquarius manages to pick up Moswell. Frenzy popped, this time by Hurrywin to fight back. Wowie goes in, sends 2 with the Maul. That'll hold them out, but Aquarius is not done. He is unrelenting, chasing out 2 different players all the way to their tier 2 tower, but he's left Ducky all alone, and Hurrywin gets a fantastic pull right back in the tower, and now with Ducky showing up, Aquarius may have stepped just a little too far forward, but Lukonium doesn't find anything. The root is good, and Snoopy's got him.
2-for-1 trade favoring the Duck Club on the back foot. Able to throw out a punch that connects with the Winter Dogs, BennyQ and Aquarius, trading their life for just Moswalls. I gotta think that had that Frenzy come out just a little bit quicker from Gamma, BennyQ's ultimate would have done so much more damage. I believe he only got one ghost off with the Frenzy applied to him. That's just not enough. The heads-up play from Duck Club, Hurrywind popping his Frenzy a little bit sooner, I believe, just to turn around that engagement. Great defensive play, great space control, all adds up to a situation where the Duck Club are able to close up some of that gap. And again, we're 21 minutes into this game now. This gold advantage that the Winter Dogs have been nursing for the last 15 or so minutes is meaning less and less and less. It might as well just be a completely dead even match at this point.
I mean, experience-wise, it might as well be here too. Only about 2,000, but that's slowly making its way back up towards Duck Club. They'll drop one of these Scorpions down. And the neutral objectives that were kind of just tossed around earlier, kind of a small little skirmish for, are about to be back off of their initial respawn time. Only about 15 seconds for Gold Fury, about 20-30 seconds on that Pyromancer. And I imagine that's where we might see this next big fight, because it is Primal Fury, a very important one when you want to start sieging towards these Fire Giants.
It is, gives you a little bit of additional damage, you take a little bit less from these neutral objectives. I think at this point there's just so much threat on both objectives, Fire Giant and Primal, that grouping up on the Primal proper is a risk for whichever team shows up there. I think it is more likely that we see both squads start to show presence on the right-hand side of the map, and then maybe one of these hunters tries to rotate over and solo an objective. Or maybe it's just a 5-on-5 now.
Maybe we just beat up Snoopy, who decided to try and pull the Pyromancer by himself. Gets into the Sap Ray, but not after he got CC'd forever.
Wait,
and as
what?
soon as he comes out, the Ghost takes him down. BennyQ finally gets a nice little pick in the middle of the fight. Lukonium stuck between 5 with nowhere to go. It'll be Kirmi dealing the last shot to take him out.
That Sap Ray didn't last very long.
He must have canceled it.
Yeah, it looked like he may have early canceled, trying to return some damage at just unfortunate timing. BennyQ, right on his heels, is able to finish off that kill. Fire Giant pulled out now by the Winter Dogs, and it's dropping quick.
And once again, it's Kirmi to be the zone duty up against Hurrywind to make sure that this Hercules can't get in. But Hurrywind doesn't have a whole lot of steal potential. His boulder's already down, but the zoning is just good enough out of Kirmi to hold back the Duck Club, and Winter Dogs can finally grab the major objective of the map, Fire Giant going their way.
And their siege potential is good, by the way. The space control, BennyQ could just W key into these fights, or if he doesn't have to, he also shreds these permanent objectives. Wowie as well, very adept with this build at just removing towers from the map. There still are plenty of gold left on the map as well. The Primal Fury is just a nice fallback reward for the Winter Dogs. They want to push their lead a little bit further before they start approaching these birds. This is going to be tough stuff. The Duck Club have got decent defense tools. Snoopy being a magical ADC means that his abilities are applying a lot of damage as well, so you can kind of stick back, apply that damage from a range and not really have to worry and put yourself in danger. Moswall and this Agni, a very good poke god, can try and keep these people at bay on the Winter Dogs as well. But I'm concerned about Lukonium's ability to get involved. We've seen now, despite going for this heavy bruiser build, this Gilgamesh, not very tanky.
He's not providing a whole lot of threat in these fights, and he's just kind of dying the moment he goes to the back line. And this is something I've always been interested about when this Scepter was introduced, is who do you kind of give this Scepter to throughout the game? Early, you give it to the supports, it gives them some extra clears, some extra early on damage. But as we start getting to this late game, we've been seeing a lot more of these solo laners start to pick this up.
Yeah, I think you just give it to whoever your tankiest target is. Whoever's able to stick close to the enemy for as long as possible is going to be good. Snoopy, not so good, falls down.
Kirmi in a 2v1 picks up a kill. Lukonium wants the rest here. But Kirmi is a very mobile god. There's the blink, there's the leap in. Lukonium goes for early beads. The taunt is good, but not good enough. Lukonium will finally close out the kill up on Kirmi. But that's left so much of an opening for Winter Dogs. They strip away that left side Phoenix in this 3v4 defense. BennyQ will eat a bomb, but they'll be able to walk right up to this Phoenix if they so choose.
Yeah, I think that's a great trade. Kirmi's a tank. You don't need him for the siege.
Gonna be a quick frenzy, and BennyQ pops the Ghost. The Phoenix is not even the target here. It's mostly just Hurrywind, but now that he has been zoned away and the bombs have been expended by Moswall, that's a nice and easy pick. 2 birds down, and all of that just for Kirmi's life.
Yeah, Kirmi distracts 2 members, takes out 1. Snoopy's still on the respawn timer. That does cost Wowie his Aegis, so a little bit of exposure on the Charybdis, but again, Charybdis has Aegis built into her kit, so how exposed really is she? Not at all, I'd say. There is an opportunity now, potentially, for Duck Club to try and group up and catch them as they start rotating out.
Just a quick little pick here by Kirmi. up onto Snoopy. He can't even get the Disapparate. He can't get any of his relics to go through. He does manage to get the Aegis right at the tail end of it, but the poison is just doing enough damage to slow him out, and that's almost it. I thought maybe the poison was enough to kill him, but he dashes back in with that Deathbane to get the final blow. And he just kind of caught Lukonium unaware because both of them were separated just far enough for him to make a sneaky little pick there.
Yeah, if I'm Lukonium and like Snoopy saying help, I'm like, who could possibly be here? Like, who's accosting you, my
really
man?
be here?
It's Kirmi, by the way, and Kirmi phenomenally juking out the entirety of Snoopy's ultimate. Had he connected any of that, Snoopy that is, I'm pretty sure we're talking about a much, much different base defense. But in the end, it's the Winter Dogs who come out very ahead off of that trade. Lukonium's too late to put up a defense. Snoopy in the Shadow Realm can't either. And now the Winter Dogs, having removed the most valuable Phoenix from the game, the left side Phoenix, the one furthest from the Fire Giant, are going to have Fireman and Waves working their way through that side of the map, and in doing so, create pressure and can now group up on the right. Nobody from Duck Club here.
Well, 2 flat pen items, 2 essentially percent pen items, one with the Void Stone, the Obsidian Shard, and then a Soul Reaver will be Benny Q's last item before upgrading his gem. Big bomb damage, though, onto Benny and Gamma. And Eagles rally in by Aquarius to chase out Snoopy, who doesn't have his relics to defend himself. He's just getting bullied by everybody in the backline. It's Kirmi and Aquarius to take down 2 quickly, but Lukonium finally manages to get something going for the team in the backline. They pick off Benny Q, but that's Benny Q for Moswell, Snoopy, the Phoenix, and maybe even the Titan. The backs have not started up just yet. It's only Hurrywin to come back and defend against 3. Gamma will use the belts to try and help out Wowie. The belly flop is good, and Hurrywin does not have the defense to hold him back. Lukonium gets there too late to hold it back. Duck Club falls game number 1. It's Winter Dogs on top.
Man, it was the battle, the dive in that very last team fight. One team's dive was successful, a little bit more so, I say. That's Winter Dogs, who finds both the carry and the mid laner. In exchange, what do the frontline divers on the other side get? Like 1 guy, that's it. They also get zoned away from their own Titan. The objective that cost you games. That is impressive stuff from the Winter Dogs, man, proving why they are the 2nd seed.
Winter Dogs coming in with a big game plan here in game number 1. Usually we always expect to kind of see Benny Q's pick come towards the very tail end of the draft, but he kind of throws us all for a loop and picks this Zhang Kui 3rd out of all things, and it's Aquarius with a Bellona kind of out of left field here to really kind of change up the draft and the composition of the Winter Dogs here. Still a very Winter Dog style of play and a very Winter Dog style of draft, though, Mifflin.
It was a little bit slower than I was expecting, though. There was a 2,000 gold lead that the Winter Dogs were nursing for like 15 actual human minutes that didn't change whatsoever. And then eventually it's just 1 team fight into an objective, into a Fire Giant that completely opens up the match.
Winter Dogs come up with a big win here in game number 1. Can the Duck Club bring it back in? We'll find out right after this.
Fading out of my mind. When we get close, we're gonna slow it down. Going deeper, still I'm sky high. Giving you this rhythm all night. Slipping, fading like I lost time. Oh baby, don't stop, no, you just slow down. Are you good enough to wait for me? We're having too much fun to disagree. Baby, as long as we don't need now. Slipping, fading, gone, slipping with our slow hands. Slipping, fading, gone, slipping with our slow hands. We gon' slow it down, slipping with our slow hands. We can't stop it now, slipping with our slow, slow hands. Wanna hear you breathing so close, so close. move from my heart and down to my toes. Slipping in and out of control. No, you don't stop, no, you just slow down. Are you good enough to wait for me? We're having too much fun to disagree. Baby, as long as we don't think now. Slipping, fading, on, slipping with our slow hands. Slipping, fading, on, slipping with our slow hands. We don't slow it down, slipping with our slow hands. We can't stop it now, slipping with our slow hands. We don't slow it down, slipping with our slow hands. We can't stop it now, slipping with our slow hands. Slow hands. Are you good enough to wait for me? We're having too much fun to disagree. Baby, as long as we don't think now. Slipping, fading, on, slipping with our slow hands. Slipping, fading, on, slipping with our slow hands. We don't slow it down, slipping with our slow hands. We can't stop it now, slipping with our slow hands. We don't slow it down, slipping with our slow hands. We can't stop it now, slipping with our slow hands. I know I messed it up, but in my soul, I feel a love for you that's out of control. Sometimes I feel like I can make you whole. I just can't change my emotions. There isn't anything I wouldn't do to prove that everything I say is true. And if you let me, I'll keep loving you. I just can't change my emotions. Come on, love me again. You're all I need. Can you love me again? I need. Come on, love me the way you did. I just can't change my emotions. Baby, I know this might sound insane.
Winter Dogs are doing a whole lot of winning, and that does not change here in game number 1 up against the Duck Club. And the power picks that we had wondered if they would pay off for the Winter Dogs, they did pay off. Early kills for Benny Q translate into late game success, and the gold lead just felt near insurmountable. So a fantastic game number 1 in this best of 3 set to move on to face the Oni homies in a qualifier match tomorrow, Gore. And this is a very talented Duck Club team.
Yeah.
And this just
say the least.
stacked against them. The Winter Dogs just felt too clean.
And that's exactly what it was, right? It's just very clean farming into efficient kills. There were a couple slip-ups where maybe overextending, they get pushed into towers that they maybe didn't want to. I'm thinking around the tier 2 on left. A couple of kills that get scooped up on the other side here for Duck Club, but not enough that it really pulls back what was an otherwise massive lead amassed by the Winter Dogs here. And you had mentioned it and called it out exactly as it was, as Benny Q, aggressive early on, showing what this Zhang Kui is capable of, a lot of damage that can come out of him, and he kicks things off really well for the team. I mean, already looking at it, there's about 1,000 gold separating these two teams right here, but the kills are stacking up for the Winter Dogs as they go further and further, and you're going to notice the numbers get much further apart as time goes on. at the forefront of it, in the middle of it, I guess, really, is going to be BennyQ finding a lot of damage. And then beside him, again, you got a lot of fun plays from Gamma, who was going with very aggressive relic choices. You have Aquarius, who's in the middle of it, but then you also just get some really sick Circuit plays from Kirmi.
That's nuts.
It just melds together in the way the Winter Dogs needed it to for a win.
Yeah, Kirmi playing the Circuit in the jungle, had been used to seeing Circuit support a good bit this week, and also have seen plenty of Circuit jungle, don't get me wrong. And that's just an easy solo kill. I say easy, maybe not quite that easy, but putting pressure on Snoopy, dodging out all this damage, and able to turn things around and grab the last bit of damage. And Kirmi, I think, one of the unsung heroes of this Winter Dogs team, Gore. I mean, everyone on this team gets praise, and deservedly so. Lots of conversations around BennyQ. I think Kirmi is a fantastic jungler and really one of the cornerstones of the Winter Dog success moving forward. This is a banger from Basically, who works with us here at the Smite Pro League. So is this what? This is it's literally the Mr. Incredible meme behind it. I didn't see the dude's neck. And then I looked at it, and Mr. Incredible's got a big old neck. Circuit ulted a minion. Ruh-roh. And then we turned black and white, and we're sad about it. Basically fantastic. Anything that's not a AVGL Finals Ganesh tweet from Basically gets the thumbs up from me.
So he wins with the meme, right?
Correct. Thumbs up for me because it wasn't an AVGL Finals Ganesh tweet. So hats off to Basically. Anyway, we'll move on.
I'm glad that you went on with that because I had no idea what I could continue with.
Yeah, no, there's nothing there for you. If I had dropped it, that would have been criminal for you to try to scrape something back. Lukonium, speaking of junglers, put together a good performance on this Gilgamesh, but there just was not enough around it in game number 1 to allow the Duck Club to find much success. Just beefy damage numbers from the Winter Dogs top to bottom. Aquarius on this Bologna Gore, I think really stands out. Top damage in the game at 19,000.
Yeah.
Hefty amount of damage mitigated at 42,000. A lot of damage taken. It's the solo laner who's kind of doing it all there. And I think the Bologna was a massive difference maker, and we haven't seen much of it. But at least now can see where there's some value in these picks that can synergize well with that Berserker Shield style of build.
It just lines up, with that exact build, right? What we've been seeing in solo lane matches pretty well into Bologna, and she had a good matchup up against most of what the Duck Club was bringing in. So it's not something that I think is going to be super high priority. I don't think it's going to be worth a ban from what we just saw, but it is something that Duck Club are going to have to be cognizant of, knowing that Aquarius can just pull that out and have it look that good at any given time.
All right, so we get into picks and bans for game number 2. Winter Dogs in the first pick slot, so we have flip-flopped. And the strategy for Winter Dogs hasn't changed in the bans just yet. Zeus into Bastet. On the flip side, something similar from Duck Club. You're going to take away Kabrakan, Izanami as well. And I think, it's sort of that's going to be my question if we start to see the Zhang Kui prioritized. It is by the Winter Dogs themselves, Gore. So BennyQ plays the Zhang Kui well enough. And maybe there's something behind the scenes here where maybe Moswell is going to be getting some ideas. So
he goes, "Damn, dude, that was so good. You can't. I don't want you touching it."
Yeah, you don't get to play that either. Circuit taken away from Kirmi, and that leaves open Amaterasu for Aquarius in the solo lane.
So much for more Bologna, huh?
Yeah, Gore, I think Bologna's going to take a backseat to Ama in the current meta.
And admittedly, she should. Amaterasu just brings so much to the table. I mean, I love what Bologna's kit has in it, but Amaterasu just has so much more that provides for the team as a whole. And realistically, you got to look at her. I mean, that's been where a lot of these team fights have been started, and some of them decided is the forcing of beads, the forcing of Aegis, people trying to get away from this Amaterasu just chasing them down. And then at the very end of it, she still gets a 3-man stun, 2-man stun, something like that. Just really, really good setup. And so for a top 3, and definitely for a number 1 pick, I really like where Winter Dogs are.
Gordon Bach is starting to climb up the pick rate just a little bit.
And the win rate, look at that.
Pick ban rate right around a quarter of the time, which admittedly is pretty surprising to me given where Bacchus had been prioritized towards the end of last year. But so far in Season 8, about 25% of the time we will see a pick or a ban sent Bacchus' way.
And 80% of that 25%, he wins.
Percentages on percentages, Gore.
Yeah.
That's
whatever
beyond me.
0.25 times
I wasn't even really doing percentages. I was adding 19 plus 7, and I still got it wrong. It's over 25%, but to make it simple for me, rounded it down. Gilgamesh, Fenrir, Kleena for the Duck. You had follow up on percentages there?
If I did this right, and there's a good chance that I didn't, because I haven't had to do like super theoretical math for a long time. 20% of the games this weekend he's won? Something like that? Maybe.
Or you're asking me like I have any idea. I'm just going to nod my head and say you're right.
I'm either right or I'm not, and that's a glorious spot to be in.
Didn't we literally have his win rate on the screen?
Yeah, it was an 80% win rate.
But that is 20 across 5 games.
It's a 20%.
All right, we're losing it.
Yeah,
nope,
there's some numbers that happen.
I'm pulling us off stage with the cane right now, Gore. We got to get back into picks
by the throat, please.
Because we would have kept going here if we didn't. We don't cut ourselves off. Daji and Ra banned out by the Duck Club after Kleena rounds out the first 3. On the flip side, the Winter Dogs considering Hunters a threat. Medusa and Ho Yi were still there, and they are no longer. So no Iza, no Medusa, no Ho Yi, and those have been 3 very, very highly prioritized picks here. And no Charybdis, because the Winter Dogs have already picked that one. And so Snoopy will have to look elsewhere. And Chiron is elsewhere.
Yeah, Chiron's been floating just around he's not very successful so far this weekend, but he's been floating just under most of these other hunters where he's been picked up. He's got, again, a great ultimate, good long range on that, a really good cleanse, helpful healing, although that's not necessarily why you're picking him up. I think the giddy up knockback, as well as just his inherent power as even a potential mid laner, if you really wanted to throw him over there, is just really, really potent. But it is something that, like you said, you have to look at the fact that he has not been the top of the crop for anybody. No. There was a period of time last year where he was absolutely someone that you had to make sure that you were worried about or that you were picking up. And into this comp, I mean, I guess he's going to be nice. There's a good way to help cleanse, again, some of the stuns. Really easy to time that with Bacchus Burp.
Stop us.
Might not be as easy with the Anubis wrap.
I mean, you can cleanse the Anubis. What's the literal term for that? The
mummify.
No, I mean, well, right. That's the ability name. It's okay. All right, people, chill. I'm saying, like, what is he wrapping you with? Like it's a sash for nausea.
Is it? Aren't they just bandages?
Like bandages,
what do you wrap
right?
What do you wrap mummies
bandages,
in?
Probably.
Glorified toilet paper if you're like low budget Halloween costume.
Yeah, probably. Right. Well, that's just toilet paper.
Yeah, I guess
costume.
not glorified.
Anyway, Chiron can probably cleanse that out in some singular instances, so that's something to look for here in this game. And then a Thoth to round out Gore, I'm not letting us go further off track here.
This is not going to be off track. I want to talk about Anubis.
All right, go ahead.
This is a standard Winter Dogs game 2. We're winning. We think we won hard enough. Benny Q is going to play the Anubis. I don't know whether or not it's because he actually likes it or because of the namesake. That's a good question. But he always plays it really well. And he's got a lot of damage. Again, you look at this. It's a really good setup, which is going to be devastating. He does not have a lot of mobility. Anubis is very much the I'm going to wrap you and either run away or I'm going to kill you before you kill me. Early on, he doesn't have the kill you before you kill me portion, and depending on some of your prots and things like that later on, the tankiness of who you are, late game he might not be able to do it. But in a full volley of abilities, Anubis is incredibly deadly.
Was there like a Gooby mixed in, like a Goobus or something like that mixed in? Yeah.
There should have been.
There should have been.
I just messed up the deadly part and put it with Anubis.
Well, on the flip side of the mid lane,
it wasn't anything fun.
Maswell, unlucky for me. Maswell will be playing the Thoth. Thoth has seen a lot of success this weekend.
And has a much further range.
And has been obnoxious to deal with. Usually relies on either self-prevention or the team preventing dive from finding Thoth. Do you think that Maswell has the tools around him on his team to keep himself alive and dealing the damage in these fights?
Yeah, I mean, Gilgamesh, Fenrir, Kleena. Well, first off, this is also probably going to be Ducky playing Kleena in solo because he's done that quite a few times, and I just had that click in my head considering what he likes to play. But having, the Gilgamesh and the Fenrir probably matching up with a Thoth for the mid 3v3, that's enough that should be able to peel or set you up for a lot of kills. The dropkick is going to be able to open a lot. Again, Anubis is not very mobile, so I expect if they're going to be killing somebody, it's probably going to be Benny Q. The Erlong Shin is really the balancing point, right? Thoth is very easy to chase down. His dash gets him only so far. If you do have that hieroglyph wall that you can dash a little further, it's going to be helpful to escape the pin from Erlong Shin and get out of that range. But otherwise, a pin into a mummify, into a volley of abilities, it's going to be able to kill pretty much anybody on the side of Duck Squad. So luckily for them, they have those disengages or at least stun some sort of CC to help slow down a little bit of Winter Dogs.
The Duck, I nearly called him squad, the Duck Club needs to win game number 2 to avoid the lower bracket. Let's see if they can bounce back.
And what a comp to run it out here. Just classic Winter Dog strat to draft the Anubis mid for Benny Q. in a Game 2 scenario where they are up. But it's not going to be that clean in the Soul Lane. Instead, it's going to be the Gilgamesh. And Mifflin, I already know well your opinion on this god in Soul Lane, so I won't talk to you about that. Instead,
I mean, you could.
I guess I could. Do you want to talk about Gilgamesh solo, Mifflin?
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like Gilgamesh solo probably got a little bit better in Season 9. You got Death Toll as an option. You can go for that Berserker Shield pretty quickly. You've got decent 1v1 potential. But I would prefer to see him in the Junglers Report. Okay, go on.
Okay, so now that we've gone on and talked about the Gilgamesh, it's usually me and Gourmizer who actually kind of get to watch these Winter Dogs Anubis kind of gameplays. I don't know if you've gotten to actually be on one of those casts prior, so what are your kind of initial thoughts on having this Goobus in the mid lane, especially with kind of how the meta is right now?
I feel like Anubis is at his best when you're like kind of slamming Bancrofts, like Typhon's Fang builds, and you're kind of utilizing all that lifesteal really well. It seems like that's not going to be the case this time around. Benny Q is just going to be jamming like double pen probably. Maybe we see him shift up that secondary pen item into a Typhon's Fang, but it could work. It's a double-edged sword, right? You either fall behind and stay behind, or you like hard bop.
We do have some good aggression here, at least, as far as this dual lane is concerned. Hurrywin again wants to get as active as he can with this Fenrir. But Mifflin, what's been up with these like preemptive frenzy pops that we've been seeing so many times here in this dual lane? It seems they pop the frenzy, they jump in, and then that's kind of it.
Well, if you land everything and you get that stun, that frenzy pop's going to do like 50% of somebody's HP bar, and that's so hard to recover from.
Hurrywin is going to have to recover some of his health here, especially after a belly flop from Gamma. He doesn't get taken out just yet, but Snoopy decides he wants to go in. But that might be the worst target for him to try to go against. Is a Charybdis level 2, has access to that Whirlpool formation. He's able to get back to safety really quickly.
Yeah, now Hurrywin gets to spend like the next minute trying to regenerate some of that HP, utilizing literally every single one of his potions just about. I think he's got maybe one left. That's like that double-edged sword of this Fenrir, man. If you don't get rolling.
There he is, in danger. Scream is good. The dot after right, not going to be enough from Lukonium. So Aquarius will live.
If you don't get rolling, you get rolled, is what I was gonna
there
say.
There you go.
But then there was like some action on the other side.
That's some action here for just a moment, but instead it's Snoopy who's eating a lot of the damage back in. Brutalized out of Hurrywin, does some good damage. Quick Whirlpool afterwards from Wowie will make sure to get some zone, some separation between those two. But Benny Q, level 4 here, will put Moswall down to half, and Moswall will treat him with a little bit of that damage right back.
Yeah, I'm expecting to see some junglers rotate over towards mid pretty shortly. I mean, both mid laners relatively susceptible to ganks. Thoth, sure, has that dash, all right, but Kirmi's chase potential on Erlong Shen is incredibly high. And then it's an Anubis on the other side. He's either going to kill you or you're going to kill him. Those are the options. Walking away, not exactly in his repertoire.
Yeah, I want to watch this level 5 between the mid laners specifically, which one gets there, and if there's even going to be any real fight that happens between them, or are they going to wait for their jungler? It is a purple buff invade by the Duck Club, and they are successful in stealing that one away. Hurrywin will put that buff around his waist, while Wowie and Gamma just have to settle for the consolation prize of the Alpha Harpy instead.
Yeah, it seems like this game, Hurrywin's kind of getting that playstyle that he wanted from the Hercules game. It was a lot of sitting in the dual lane, a lot of trying to get aggressive. Feels like Fenrir's kind of fitting that style a little bit more, so it's just constant jumps in, constantly trying to apply some DPS, constantly trying to make sure that Wowie's forced to regenerate some HP. He's creating a lot of space for Snoopy, and it's netted them just about every single bit of neutral farm as well as an invade, which is why we're starting to see some of that XP gap rather start building up.
Well, we do have level 5s from the mid. We do have level 5s coming out of the mid laners here. Moswell's the first one to go back to base and pick up the tier 2 towards his flat pen. Hurrywin again, just continuing his aggression over here in the dual lane. And then when they're both level 5 compared to a level 3 and a level 4, it's no surprise that they want to play as aggro as possible, and even waiting around this Harpy camp, hoping that one of them would step forward for a nice and easy Ragnarok pull, but that will not be the case here. Benny Q does end up losing out on those Harpies because rotation from Lukonium and Moswall. But now with Kirmi waiting in tow, this could be an opportunity for maybe somebody to try and get an advantage in a fight. First Veil opens up inside the wall by Lukonium's Kleena. It does a little bit of damage, but is an Anubis. He'll be able to heal a decent bit of it up. Not quite as much, though, because Vamp Shroud doesn't have a ton of lifesteal yet.
Not a ton. Maybe he goes for the Spear of the Magus, get some of the lifesteal there. I want to see Hurrywin rotate out of the lane sooner. Last time it was like the 10-minute mark when he left. This time around, there's only one target on the Winter Dogs who doesn't have CC immunity whatsoever, and that's Kirmi. He doesn't have a CC immune ult, and he's gone for Blink very early for his first Relic slot, which means that Hurrywin with Ragnarok can make it very hard for Kirmi to operate in this game. But I don't think Kirby's going to come over to this lane very often. I mean, Snoopy's got death immunity in the ultimate. Hurrywin can very easily immune out a lot of his engage, leap away from the pin, CC immunity for the 9 turns blessing. And then you've also just got Ragnarok as a threat. I don't think you're going to deliver yourself to that, which means that Hurrywin has to go out and try and find this guy.
Yeah, I don't think Hurrywin would probably want to prioritize Benny Q, because all it takes is he sees that Ragnarok, and if he can get up into the ultimate, that death gaze to the Nimbus before the Ragnarok bite confirms, that just makes you a nice and easy target for that support. But now that we've ticked over to that 5-minute mark, the Scorpions spawn in. Lukonium and Mazwal will make quick work of them over into the jungle. And even with no kills on the board just yet, it's a very, very slight, about 300 gold lead that the Winter Dogs do have up. Nothing significant as of now. But the XP on the opposite side of the board, a little bit of in favor here of the Duck Club. Yeah,
I'm loving it already. Hurrywin getting involved in mid. We saw it there. Kirmi was stepping up. He was kind of posturing like he was trying to engage or maybe try and force something off of Mazwal. And then he sees Hurrywin and he's like, oh, I'm not allowed to. Like, legitimately, if I step up, I just get dragged into the tower every time. It's just a great dissuasion tool to have Hurry hovering towards the center of the map, especially considering Snoopy's doing fine. He's got like a whole level lead over Wowie. He's still controlling the neutral farm. If the ADCs are left alone, that's going to favor Duck Club.
Look, I'm going to give a free meme to somebody out here if I get a moment to do so. Somebody just do the support, it's 6 minutes, it's time for your daily obelisk ins, because that's what it feels like every time we get to this point of the game. Someone can go ahead and make that. That's your freebie out there for all you memers. But Winter Dogs will get their obelisk first this time in this game, so they'll have the advantage here 6 minutes in on that at the very least. The gold will not change very much, though. And over into the solo lane, we haven't really talked about this Ama-Gilgamesh matchup. We've been so focused on this duo in mid that,
dude, what happens?
I guess there's not a whole lot to talk about except for the fact that Aquarius has a level and a half, almost 2 up on Ducky.
Yeah, 9-7 over here. Gotta think that maybe Aquarius was like invading while we were watching the duo lane so much, because there's no reason he should just have this massive of a lead at this point in the game. But already, I think Ducky may have missed his opportunity to fight back in. Aquarius going to make equally good use, if not better use, of the Berserker shield build. They both have Death Toll for sustain, but only Aquarius has got sustain built into the kit. The 1v1 potential, not exactly there. If you drop Winds of Shamash, the answer is going to be Dazzling Offensive every single time for that CC immunity and repositioning. This is tough. Ducky's got to concern himself more so with a late game team fight and rotations rather than the actual fight in lane.
I was thinking maybe Totems was giving a little bit of advantage, but no, that's a 3-2 in favor of Ducky here for Duck Club. Kirmi gets spotted out, and Hurrywin jumps really far back behind him, and Kirmi makes that distance even greater with a quick blink. Ducky and Aquarius over here, half health on Ducky as he's trying to fight back in. Does manage to shore up some of that lead, so it's not nearly as large as it may have initially thought there.
Well, how did it close up so quick? Where'd he get all that experience?
Maybe just holding on to a little bit too much lane experience. It does come back here, so Aquarius does still have about half or more level. And we see the Ragnarok trying to chase out Kirmi. Now instead, Hurrywin will pick up Gamma, but a scream in the wall only hits Aqua. Hurrywin is by himself. He'll get belched, slowed down, knocked up, stunned to oblivion, and the CC chain coming out of the Winter Dogs is more than enough to put the dog down.
Yeah, I think Hurrywin knew he made a mistake the second that Gamma didn't beads. He's like, oh no. What's he gonna do to me when he hops out of my mouth? And it was knock up, stun, into even more damage, another stun, dazzling offensive. Hurrywin just didn't choose his target properly this time around, and the Winter Dogs punish him beautifully. But maybe the Duck Club can make something happen here.
Oh, good minion kick there to stun Aquarius, but unfortunately that minion body blocked Lukonium from throwing out that damage onto Aquarius that stealth doesn't confirm. And instead, now we go over to the dual lane. This is where Duck Club has a little bit of that XP lead. It's because Snoopy has been able to get a nice little advantage over Wowie. Kirmi will eat a lot of damage here, but drop kick off the mark by Ducky. But there are 4 players from the Duck Club here on this right side. They want Kirmi and Aqua, but I'm not sure they're going to be able to get it. Hurrywin does not have that ultimate up.
Yeah, but maybe they can evade this blue buff at least. Gamma hovering nearby will be able to spot it out, but maybe not enough threat generated by just him. Oh, no, I was wrong. Gamma's a real scary guy.
Man,
Lukonium just walks away.
Bro, that's a Bacchus. You want to try and fight into a Bacchus?
At like level 8? Yeah, sure.
I'm not going to fight into Bacchus at any point. I know how tanky that guy can get. That was one of the first gods I ever played coming into Smite. He's a menace.
Fair enough. Does have some damage mitigation built into the kit with the chug, so maybe you don't want to fight into that. Plus the scepter means that he's going to be dealing a lot of damage. I think it just wore off of him. So Gamma able to defend his own blue buff for his squad here, or maybe even potentially Lukonium. Got to play safe.
Could just potentially go for this kill here. Does Gamma actually have any points in Chug right now? Because I know that you can level up that or use that ability without it. No, he does not.
So he's not even tanky.
Not a single level. And he still gets it from his passive. He just doesn't get the benefit of the extra boost that you get from that Chug just yet. Instead, it is the belch and the belly flop.
He's drinking non-alcoholic, man. That's messed up.
He's drinking the Perrier right now out in the middle of this field. Not sure exactly how long it'll be till Gamma finally puts a point in there. I guess maybe when he's finally forced to when nothing else can be leveled up.
I suppose so. And I guess he's just getting his defense from the build instead of from his kit because he's gone for the sovereignty in that first slot, giving you a good infusion of physical defense. You don't have to worry about stacking up an item, whereas Hurrywin still only halfway through evolving those Thebes. So Gamma at this point not only playing with a level lead, but a defense lead as well. Likely going to look to leverage that just about anywhere on the map. I mean, I saw how he approached that blue buff with Abandon, with a devil may care attitude. You just do no wrong.
I mean, we're talking about the level lead in solo that just kind of amounted out of nowhere here. Aquarius up over Ducky 12-11, but the same can be said here in the duo lane. I mean, the two supports left lane a long time ago, but Snoopy has more than a 2-level lead, kind of teetering closer to a full 3 levels up over Wowie.
Yeah, we saw where that one came from, though. That was Hurrywin's aggressive play in the early, kind of zoning Wowie away from that neutral farm. It's so hard to reestablish control of the neutral farm in the duo lane as well. And then we saw Snoopy just kind of zoning Wowie away from waves. There was a skirmish at those back camps or around the obelisk where Snoopy's just kind of sitting there like, hey, don't walk past me. I'll kill you if you do. But also, there's a minion wave in your tower, and Wowie's just been struggling to find his farm sense.
It is that Spear of the Magus that you called out for earlier for Benny Q in the mid lane, so he'll benefit from some of that lifesteal. But then a Pythagorum's piece. We kind of seen this one bounce back and forth between a few different gods and a few different build styles. How do you feel about the Pythags piece for Anubis?
It's a lot of lifesteal, and he's playing Anubis. So I'm not going to argue against it this time.
Fair point.
I mean, it's just about every stat that you could want, barring some CDR, right? Like, you'd love to get some CDR on this god just so that you can have a little bit more self-peel with the wrap, but having some penetration, some lifesteal, good power, an aura item to help out the rest of your team. So now Gamma will be dealing a little bit more damage. Kirmi gets some lifesteal as well. So a Pythag's piece, not one that I'm too concerned about. I wonder what this next Tiny Trinket turns into. I'm a massive Typhon's Fang fan. I think that item is just really well statted. So I'm kind of hoping he takes it that way.
Yeah, will double dip with its passive by having that Pythags and the Spears. So you have a lot of benefit coming from Benny Q. We'll see where that item ends up panning out. On the opposite side here, it's Moswell with some anti-heal in the Divine Ruin, more flat pen for himself, also with Spear of Desolation. So he's gone for the double flat pen. That's been the standard that we've seen out of our mid lane, more traditional mages, so to speak here. The Aquarius versus Ducky boxing match will end just as quickly as it starts up. They'll slap each other around, but as you said earlier, Aqua will always have the advantage, especially not just in the fact that he's up in levels, but he does have that self-sustain.
Yeah, he's also gone for more power in his build and a little bit of a disrespectful item, Frostbound Hammer, in that second slot. It's decent. It's going to give you a good bit of survivability.
Nice little sidestep there by Snoopy, and he'll have to use the beads, though, to get away from the taunt from Kirmi. And then now it's Hurrywin going for a big pickup on Gamma, but this Bacchus has beads. He recognizes that he is going to be the target, so Gamma picks up that relic very early in the game.
Where's he going?
We see it put up here.
Oh, okay.
But Aquarius is going to go to the Gold Fury because what better god to try and burn away a Gold Fury than an Anubis?
Yeah, Aquarius got here just in time to watch it fall down and maybe help out Gamma steal away some of these flowers. Duck Club nowhere in range to put up a defense there. Maybe Ducky can at least get a tier 1 tower on the other side to try and return some of that farm.
One Veil to cut off the path, but it's not going to do a whole lot of damage to just walk through it, but the rest of the follow-up after may be. Hurrywin will slow down Gamma. Gamma does charge up the Belch, and a couple of Centaurus shots from Snoopy deal a lot of damage to Gamma, but he's on the run. Aquarius is here to help him out. Lukonium goes in. And he does manage to steal away the purple buff at the least, but now it's BennyQ by himself up against Ducky using all that lifesteal to stay alive. Benny is looking rather healthy, but not hurried when he gets bursted down, and it's the tanks absolutely collapsing on the mid laner. Moswell has nowhere to go, but neither does Benny as Lukonium drags him to the depths.
2-for-1 trade. Can it get any better for the Duck Club here? Lukonium still deep in enemy territory, but it is able to escape away. Aquarius not quite able to get in front of him, and now the Winter Dogs seems like they want to be the ones on the chase. That's a very long fight. A pretty greedy play from the Winter Dogs is what leaves a couple members exposed there for the Duck Club to chase out. They already got the objective. Gold Fury's already dead, but they wanted the Scepter as well. Step up, try and steal some flowers, get punished for it this time around. But you're still feeling pretty good about that swing. About 2,000 gold for the Winter Dogs. Experience gets closed up a little bit. Largest gap still is Snoopy, 3 levels over his opposition, but I'm sure Wowie's fine playing that just safe style. That's what you play Charybdis for, and the rest of his team is just benefiting.
I mean, despite the fact that Wowie is down 3 levels, it is a 1k XP lead that the Winter Dogs have up, and about 2,000 gold up here as well. 15 minutes in, only 3-1, a fairly slow-paced game compared to what we saw last time, though. I can't even say no short of fighting for what felt like the first maybe 7 or so minutes of the game. The only action that we ever saw was over in the duo lane.
Yeah, lots of aggressive plays from Hurrywind early on. Well, we got a moment to breathe, J-Mac. I guess we can start taking a peek at some of these builds. Lukonium actually goes for the Soul Eater very early, so he's going to have a good deal of ability lifesteal. It makes me think he's going to go for the Jotun's upgrade that similarly gives you ability lifesteal rather than what I will now coin as Sundering Jotuns. So, decent survivability for Lukonium in some of these team fights, but he is going to take a slight hit to his overall damage output at this portion of the game, and all portions legitimately, because you have to sacrifice an item to pick up some of that survivability. So maybe longer fights are the name of the game for Duck Club.
Kierme started up this Pyromancer, and he gave it up right away. Aquarius tried to pick it back. I'm not sure if they saw somebody on a ward. Hurrywind goes up to try and grab with the Ragnarok ultimate, but BennyQ is just sitting there soaking up the damage from the mid laner, but Hurrywind is soaking up the damage from the other mid laner.
Are you serious?
And all it takes is BennyQ by himself. He'll just kill Hurrywind all on his own.
Yeah, BennyQ doesn't miss those. I guess Hurrywind was just assuming that his ultimate lasts longer than the Death Gaze.
No.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained, and this time Hurrywind gained knowledge at the cost of his life. Winter Dogs gain a kill and yet another objective. Pyromancer going their way. Gold lead expanding, experience expanding as well, and BennyQ sitting comfortably at level 16. 1 level up now on his opposition. This is tough. This Anubis is starting to hit his stride.
This is the point of the game where I get furious that nobody has been camping this Anubis. I mean, it's an immobile god, and we've got 2 separate forms of major anti-heal, but Kierme's going to need a little bit on him if they want to take him down. They will. Moswell with a nice snipe of the final judgment. Gamma stuck inside the winds of Shamash, being battered around by Ducky. They're going to spend a lot, but they will be able to take down not just Gamma, but Kierme with them. But it's a turnaround kill. Wowie able to get a kill over on Snoopy on the left side of the map.
And with even 4 members of the Duck Club grouped up on the right, having taken out 2, and realizing that 2 are on the left, they're still concerned enough with BennyQ that they're not willing to try and pull out the Fire Giant proper. Maybe they don't have enough DPS considering all the veils have been torn at that point, or maybe they just want to get back to base and make sure they can defend some of these towers, but you got to think that's a missed opportunity. Had Snoopy just survived, he could have called out so many people on the left side of the map. It really only would have been BennyQ in range to defend Kierme just now on the respawn, but no, to no avail. Duck Club, they find a couple of kills, and that's just about it.
And that's one of the things about the Anubis is you might not want to start up because he's there. He can definitely burn an objective down, but securing isn't necessarily his strongest suit. Sure, you're going to lose a lot of that health bar on that objective, but all you need to do is have at least one decently well-timed ability, but with Moswell's ultimate down, maybe that is the call that they don't want to go for the confirmation there.
Yeah, I don't even think it's like a coin toss situation, right? You just force BennyQ to walk up, a mobile mage, as you were saying a little bit earlier. He's not exactly the greatest for face checking an objective. Would have been pretty easy for Duck Club to maybe even try and dive onto him, but instead, significant grouping on the left side of the map. They're maybe looking for a pick. Oni Fury spawned up, but
this is sneaky.
oh no. Is it a Jabate?
This is sneaky. Gamma's here showing that at least somebody's going to show up to take
Oh,
a peek at
that's
this
so
Oni
tough.
Fury. But the Winter Dogs do not care about the Fury. And unfortunate for the Duck Club, they're going to hear the opposite wail of the Fire Giant going down. Sure, Duck Club get Oni Fury, that is great. But what a bait and what a call by the Winter Dogs.
The Winter Dogs are just smarter, man. Their IQs are too high. These guys got like 36s on the ACT or whatever a good score on the SAT is.
I don't even know anymore.
Yeah, I didn't take that one. That's tough. So the Winter Dogs realize that the Oni Fury spawns and that Duck Club are going to try and put up a defense on this one because it's legitimately the best game state they've had. So they just go the other way.
And they can just get this frenzy going through here, take a right side Phoenix, and potentially just get out of this fight. The winds will slow down Gamma, but that's about it.
These guys are
After
bandits.
getting the Fury, these guys steal away the Fire Giant from right under Duck Club's nose. Then they go and take a tier 2 tower, and by the time that Duck Club even recuperate from their loss of losing Fire in a tower, they're already at the Phoenix line, and Winter Dogs take that too.
Oh, the Winter Dogs are so smart. I just want to shove them in a locker, dude. I want to give these guys swirlies. That was such a smart play. Right side Phoenix falls down, and
Throw
they
the
still have
textbooks
Fire
down the
Giant
stairs.
for so much longer. The Duck Club have got decent defense, right? Ducky with Winds of Shamash can isolate portions of the map. Mazwal should be able to keep the minion wave out well. Or maybe they could just dive here.
And you just get a kill on Kirmi unless Aquarius is here to stop that one. And the damage from the solo laner, from the mid laner, is enough to take out Lukonium. Hurrywin has to turn tail and run, and it's Snoopy versus Gamma. And I'm not sure if Gamma actually got the dash out of Snoopy there with that stun. Snoopy is galloping away as fast as he can from Gamma, while the rest of the Winter Dogs charge up the mid lane.
Yeah, Aquarius has 3,000 gold in hand, or just about, just makes his way back to base. And he was still able to show up to that team fight. He was still able to throw his weight around and make sure that nobody from the Winter Dogs loses out on that Fire Giant buff. And then shows back up. What? It just does it on his own. Okay.
What was that damage that I just witnessed there? I mean, Mazwal almost gets soloed by Aquarius. I know that Mazwal is a level down, but Aquarius just face-checked this mage and told it, it's like, bet, I want you to fight me, why not? And just absolutely beats him upside the head.
Yeah, Lukonium now on the respawn, and Mazwal limping back from base might be able to put up a defense here.
He did it again.
Yeah, he's just doing it.
He's
That's
just
a
doing
brace.
it again. Snoopy's got to be the one to run this time. Winds of Shamash pop through. Gamma has to jump away, but it'll get rooted right after. The Phoenix does go down, but the fight has been separated, and it's Kirmi and Aquarius in the backline once again, bullying out anybody who dares step their way. But that's able to create enough space for the Winter Dogs to make a hasty retreat.
That was a pretty cool up-down from Ducky to avoid the wrap, but maybe not this wrap around. It's the Winter Dogs working their way forward, and they found Snoopy.
Kirmi does find Snoopy, and Snoopy finds his way to the fountain the fast way. Hurrywin picks up Benny Q, and that's the last thing that Hurrywin gets to do because it's Gamma belly flopping on in, taking down the dog, and now it's only 3 people left alive to defend. The Winter Dogs with the Anubis ultimate will easily clean up that Titan. They'll easily clean up this set and take themselves all the way to the finals to face off against the Oni homies.
Yeah, the Duck Club thought they were lining up against an SEC team, not like 5 Sun Tzus on the other side. That was 100% just intelligent play that wins them the game, man. That's tough. But if you're a fan of both of these teams, at least they get to stick around. There's a loser's bracket run for the Duck Club, at least. Silver linings.
Yeah, I mean, that is the one big silver lining here for the Duck Club is they're down here, but they're not out just yet. But they've got to make a heck of a climb to come back up and have their opportunity to make it to the SPL. Instead, it will be the Winter Dogs facing off against the Oni homies tomorrow in a best-of-5 set to qualify for the SPL.
Man, that's an exciting one. I'm really expecting a lot from this Duck Club team. I know that it wasn't the best look from them from this Winter Dog set, but I think that we can expect a lot more. This is a team that's going to bounce back a lot stronger.
A big congrats to the Winter Dog on their win here on this 3rd day of the event, but we're going to talk a little bit more here. I thought we were going to get a moment to kind of throw here, but let's talk just one more moment. I mean, this Anubis is just something that Benny Q specifically, he's the only player in this league at the moment who loves doing this. He pulls it out here in game number 2, and it looks fantastic. It gets the Winter Dogs their win. We'll go ahead and throw it over to a break, and then we'll come back to the desk to close this one out.
It's silent now.
We don't say a word, we're just looking at each other. Tears in our eyes from the words we said. Yeah, it kinda broke my heart. Loving you is not so goddamn easy as you think. I'm trying my best to hold on, but I feel myself giving. You know that we shouldn't keep it up like this. We hurt each other's feelings on and on. I don't wanna change who you are. The things you say is always one step too far. But I know that I've played my part. I'm hurting you as well. I guess that we should say we're sorry. Say we're sorry. Say we're sorry. I guess that we should say we're sorry. Say we're sorry. Say we're sorry. We pick up the pieces and start again. Don't give up, we're holding on. For what it's worth, I'll try to change. We can't fix our broken hearts. Loving me is not so goddamn easy as I think. You try your best to hold up, but I see you giving in. You know that we shouldn't keep it up like this. We hurt each other's feelings on and on. I don't wanna change who you are. The things you say is always one step too far. But
It happens more often than you think. Another death segment where we come back and Gore is maniacally laughing.
That was because Miff almost
Doesn't
got
matter,
hit in
Gore.
the
They
head
don't
with
know
the
that. All they
crane.
know is something chaotic happened. Something surprisingly chaotic happened in the 5 minutes between when they did or didn't see us, or they didn't see us, and when we come back to death.
It's been a lot longer than 5 minutes since they've seen us.
Right, it's been like 35 minutes, something like that, maybe. That was a
Yeah.
quick game, though, from the Winter Dogs, who were able to put down the Duck Club down into the lower bracket. And that means the Winter Dogs,
Have won.
they did.
I'm sorry, I undermined you. I'm so sorry.
With the dog on their team. No, you're right. You set me up, and then I knocked it down. And they will play the Oni Homies tomorrow for a spot in the SPL. One more spot up for grabs. And the Winter Dogs Gourmizer here in game number 2. I mean, consistent play across the board. And this one was more methodical, right? Lower kills as far as the game goes,
Yeah.
but felt like Winter Dogs were in control from very early in this
A
game.
very long gap from when First Blood happened to when any other kill happened after the fact. And so really starting to kick things off, I think we get a lot of really fun control that comes from the Winter Dogs, and they really get to use their draft to its maximum potential. You get some insane plays from Kirmi, a lot of good setup between Kirmi and Aquarius here. Benny Q just shreds anything that stood in front of him, whether it was a player or an objective, and that's another reason that I think it's so great that this team has an Anubis pick in their pocket like this, because first off, no one's playing it, and apparently people have some trouble playing against it, and it works out so well for them. It's also, they only do it when they've won game 1. They have that advantage. So it's like that safety net just in case things don't go well. But it ends up looking really good for them. Again, from top to bottom, this team just comes together and plays really well. And knowing that they have 3 games, that realistically 3 wins that stand between them and making it into the SPL is actually like probably really empowering for them.
I'm sure it's something I'll ask Aqua about in our post-game interview. Relatively tame in the KDA columns
Very
here,
tame.
Gore, 2-1, 1-1, things like that. And I think that's usually the sign of a game where, it's a slower start, and then all at once, like those last 6, 7, 8
Look at the
kills.
damage.
Right, I mean, it's so low.
5K, 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 16.
Maswell did 12,000, Ducky 11,000 there as well. Unfortunately, the Gilgamesh solo didn't quite work out. When you get these lower kill games, but they're fast, it's indicative of exactly what happens here. You get 1 kill early, but the Winter Dogs were just able to spool up that gold as the game went on, and then just spiraled things out of control. And then it was like a fire giant fight, and then 1 pick turned into 2 picks, and it turned into base siege. And Gore, this Winter Dogs team playing like a threat to the tournament favorite Oni Homies, who they will be facing off against tomorrow. Aquarius, big role, not only in the Game 1 win, but the Game 2 win as well, getting to play Amaterasu, also standing by for the post-game interview. Aquarius, congrats on the win. I want to ask you first and foremost, one set away, one best-of-3 set away from joining the SPL. Has that reality set in for you and the rest of the team?
I'd say so, but we're just taking one day at a time. Just like stay calm, cool, have fun, and stay confident. We're good.
And I think to speak to that confidence, you're going up against the Oni homies tomorrow. It's the 1 versus 2 seed. We all sort of foresaw this matchup happening. Do you think you match up well against this Oni homies team? Do you think you could get it done tomorrow?
I do think we can. We played against them a few times now already, and we've practiced against them before. Like, I think we definitely have a solid chance.
A solid shot. The Amaterasu meta is here. Do you enjoy playing the pick because it's so good? Do you at least enjoy? We always hear these like mid lane picks, whatever it might be, and you just kind of have to play them because they're in meta. Do you enjoy playing Amaterasu?
I've always loved Ama.
Nice.
I've played her since like day 1. Loved her when she came out. So glad she's back. Enough Guardian stuff.
That's right. Hey, look, anytime you'll get Ama, you won't be complaining. We'll see you guys against the Oni homies tomorrow, and congratulations again on your win.
Thank you.
Cool, calm, and collected is what Aquarius is saying about the Winter Dogs after this 2-0 win over the Duck Club. And Gore, I think now you got to shift some attention towards the Duck Club as well. I think Mifflin at the end of that cast talked about how this doesn't seem indicative of the way that the Duck Club is able to play. Too much talent on this roster to go out quietly. They're going to have to make a bit of a run, though, in the lower bracket.
Yeah, and admittedly, it's not going to be the easiest thing for them, right? We've seen what these teams are capable of down in the bottom bracket right now, and it is a lot deadlier down there than you would expect. I think Jesta 6 is a team you have to keep your eyes on going up against Funhavers. But going up against the Neighborhood, they have definitely been showcasing their strengths these last couple of days. And so I think Duck Club are going to have to make sure they step up to take them down.
Yeah, interesting matchups to start off the day on Saturday. We only have 3 sets tomorrow. 2 of them will be the knockout best-of-3 games. Those are those first 2 matchups. You see them on the lower part of the bracket here. Funhavers versus Just F6. Duck Club versus the Neighborhood. That'll start off the broadcast. Both of them best-of-3s. To end the broadcast, that upper right matchup in the upper bracket, Oni Homies versus the Winter Dogs, will be a best-of-5 to promote a team. I think I kept saying best-of-3. That's my fault in the interview to Aquarius. I got to go correct that. He's thinking he's playing a best-of-3 tomorrow. No, a best-of-5 Oni Homies versus the Winter Dogs to promote a team to the SPL. And I ask Aquarius Score, has the reality set in? Because for a lot of these players, this is the dream, this is what you're chasing, this is what you're going for. And the beauty of this tournament is that teams can make runs, and this Winter Dogs team that's had so much success at the SEC level, 1 set away from joining the SPL, and Gore, admittedly, that changes lives.
And it's something that is going to be very interesting because, for the Warriors, like you said, it is kind of going back into the SPL. For the Winter Dogs, being able to then, turn this into a salary thing, go from SEC to SPL would be a huge jump. Yeah. And knowing that it's not, Aquarius mentions it, a team they've played against in the past, a team that they've practiced with. We saw them in a best-of-5 at the World Championship placements play each other.
Yep.
And it was a 3-1 in favor of the Warriors at the time, the homies, as they are as of right now. And so we will see whether or not they've shifted a lot. I mean, we've had a whole season change. Yep. Things are different now. I'm excited to watch how that one shakes out.
That'll be our 3rd and final matchup tomorrow. Before that, 2 knockout best-of-3s to start off the broadcast. That is 11 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. You don't want to miss it. On behalf of myself, Gourmizer, all the other casters, everyone back in production, thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.